Hey, what's up? Considering I just spent what feels like 2 weeks eating mainly roast beef, mashed potatoes, and cheesecake, I thought it'd be a good idea to start 2022 with a video that actually has some vegetables in it. So today I'm gonna show you guys 3 different ways to make what I call big ass salad. This style of salad is actually the way I try to eat at home most of the time, and it's not about dieting or punishment, but instead it's about fun textures, great flavors, and giving your body something to eat that isn't brown.
At my house, the base of a big ass salad rotates between 4 different greens. The first is head lettuce, like romaine or green leaf. This stuff has very little nutrition, but it has great texture and it pairs really well with creamier salad dressings. The second option is arugula. This is a little bit spicy and it's one of my all-time favorites, but it doesn't hold up well in wetter salads, so that's something to keep in mind. There's also baby spinach. This one is the most nutritious, but it wilts too fast in my opinion, so I don't use it that often. The last option is the tried and true mixed greens. This one always brings a variety of textures and flavors to any base of a salad, and that's where we're going to start. The first salad here is the easiest option, and more often than not, it's lunch at my house. That's mainly because pretty much all of the stuff in this salad comes from the pantry, and it can be made in the same time it takes to boil an egg. Speaking of that, I'll get 4 large eggs dropped into some boiling water. Then I'm going to turn the heat down to medium so that these eggs don't bob around too much and crack up prematurely. For me, 10 to 12 minutes at a low simmer is the sweet spot for hard-boiled eggs. At 10 minutes to stop the cooking, I'm going to move this pot off the burner and then over to the sink. From there, I'm going to run cold water over the eggs for about 3 minutes, and once they cool, I'll give them a peel. Now, let's build the salad. The first thing down is going to be some shaved fennel, but any thinly sliced raw vegetable that you have in the fridge, like a carrot or a radish, is going to bring some fresh crunchiness in the same way. To get this fennel super thin, I used my mandolin. Personally, I find these handheld plastic Japanese ones to be way easier to use and honestly a lot safer than the heavier stainless ones. Mandolins in general, though, are just a great tool for making fibrous vegetables a lot easier to eat raw. Behind the fennel comes some roasted red bell pepper. These are kind of sweet, kind of savory, and take the place of a fresh cherry tomato, which I don't usually have on hand. These roasted red peppers are part of the triad of jarred things that I keep in my pantry 100% of the time, the other 2 being sliced olives and some sort of pepperoncinis. I like this trio because all 3 stay good for a really long time in the fridge once they're opened, and all 3 are versatile enough to use in a variety of other dishes. I'll drop a hefty amount of both the kalamatas and the pepperoncinis on top of the red bell peppers. Next, I'm going to drop 1 of my hard-boiled eggs that I've peeled and then cut in half. Then comes a few ounces of nice sheep's milk feta cheese. Feel free to sub in another salty dry cheese like grated Parmesan, for example. To bring some additional proteins, I reach for another absolute essential pantry item in my house, and that's canned mackerel. Mackerel is one of the more mild oily fishes in my opinion, and it makes for a great salad topper. Sub in a nice canned tuna if you don't like mackerel, or shred off some of last night's roast chicken or a rotisserie if you've got one sitting in your fridge. To bring some crunch, I'm going to drop in some fried panko breadcrumbs. Again, this is something that I usually have on hand ready to go because I love them so much, and it only takes 2 minutes to make. To make them into a medium saute pan that I've preheated over high heat, I'm going to glug in a pretty serious amount of oil. Let's call it 1/3 of a cup, maybe 30 mils. Then in goes 150 grams, or about 3/4 cup of coarse chunky panko breadcrumbs. Right away, you need to toss and stir this so that the oil doesn't over fry the crumbs that hit it first. From there, I'm going to fry this for about 30 to 40 seconds or until they're taken on some dark golden brown color like this. From there, I'm going to move this over to a paper towel to drain, and that's it. These are a perfect topper for salads or pastas or anything kind of Mediterranean flavored at all, basically. The last step here for this salad is to mix up a very quick vinaigrette. For that, I'll combine 50 grams of nice tasting whole grain mustard, 75 grams of nice aged balsamic vinegar. For this very simple vinaigrette, I really can't recommend going with cheap unaged stuff, mainly because it's too sour and it doesn't have any perceivable sweetness to it. You can get a halfway decent bottle of aged balsamic for about $10 to $15, and I know that might seem kind of expensive for vinegar, but I can make 40 to 50 very good tasting salads with just 1 bottle of this size. Lastly, I'll top that vinegar with 75 grams of extra virgin olive oil, pop on the lid, and give it a vigorous shake to combine. As you can see, the viscosity of the aged vinegar combined with that mustard makes a thicker vinaigrette that actually stays emulsified. That means less wilted salad greens and a better, cleaner balance of acid to fat. When I spoon it on the salad, you can really see how well the oil and vinegar are holding together. I think we all know the pain of a split balsamic vinaigrette that just weighs everything down into a soggy mess in the bottom of the bowl. And there we go, a beautiful, simple 10-minute big ass salad that I think is really fun. A salad like this is usually what I eat right before my custom workout plan given to me by the sponsor of this video, Future. Future is a fitness app that connects you with an online personal trainer who sends you personalized workouts each week. That's huge because going into 2022, I wanted to be a lot more fit in general, and I didn't want to be one of those people that sets the New Year's goal and then bails on it by February. So the structure and accountability that I get from having an online personal trainer has really changed the game for me. My coach since October has been Kyle, and he's an actual true fitness pro. He's coached pro and college athletes, and he himself is a champion weightlifter. When I signed up with Future, I had a call with Kyle to chat about my fitness goals. I told him I wanted to work out about 3 days a week with a focus on movement that would help me rock climb better. Kyle gave me my custom plan, and already since October, I'm climbing 2 grades higher than I used to in the climbing gym, and that's thanks to these very hard eccentric pull-ups. Also, if you don't have access to a gym, that's not a big deal. Your trainer will develop a plan that helps you reach whatever goals you have based on whatever gear you have access to. Oh, and Future will also send you an Apple Watch to borrow for the entire duration of your membership so that your trainer can use it to track your progress and your heart rate and give you feedback. So if you want to hit your fitness goals this year and get way better at rock climbing like me, go to tryfuture.co/Brian Lagerstrom and get your first month for just $19. That's cheaper than a gym membership. That's $19 for your first month. The link is in the description. Thank you, Future. Now, for salad number 2, we're going to need an 8-ounce piece of salmon. This fish is skin off, farm raised, and I'm giving both sides a very generous pinch of salt. If salmon isn't your thing, seared or raw tuna for this salad is also going to be a great option. Once that's salted, I'm going to preheat a medium nonstick pan over medium heat. When that's hot, in goes a long squeezer of olive oil, and then I'm going to lay the salmon in with the skin side facing the pan. Skin side meaning the side that used to have skin. I'll mention now that pretty much any time I cook a protein in a saute pan, I like to press it down for the first 20 to 30 seconds to make sure that I'm getting proper contact. Skip this step and you'll more than likely have a not crispy steam spot on the pan side of your food. After roughly 5 minutes of cooking this fish over medium heat on side 1, I'm going to come back and flip it over and then right away turn the burner down to low. I'm going to finish cooking this fish on the back side very gently for another 2 minutes or so. Cook times are probably going to vary, but in general, 7 minutes is a good amount of time to get a medium temp on a fillet of this size. Around that 7-minute mark, once this fillet is looking done, I'm going to move it over to a paper towel to drain and rest, and then the pan's going to go back onto the stove so that I can wipe it out and then reheat it again over medium-high heat. More oil goes in, then about 8 ounces or 250 grams of chopped broccolini. I'm going to hit that with a small pinch of salt and then give everything in the pan a nice toss to combine. I love having a cooked vegetable texture in a salad. Note the roasted red pepper from the first salad, and I think broccolini is a great choice for that because it cooks super fast and there is not a fibrous edge that needs to be tenderized like regular broccoli. After 90 seconds or so in the hot pan, the broccolini is lightly charred, slightly more tender, and ready to come out. Onto the paper towel with the salmon it goes. Now let's build the salad. The first thing into this bowl is going to be a big handful of chopped green leaf lettuce. Again, I really prefer head lettuce like this or Little Gem for salads with creamy dressings, which this salad has, but more on that in a second. The next thing down is going to be some finely shredded green cabbage. Just like the fennel in the first salad, I think having some light raw vegetable crunch makes a bowl of salad greens a lot more texturally dynamic. When you combine the shredded cabbage with a creamy dressing, you're basically eating coleslaw for dinner. And that's dope. Behind the cabbage, I'm going to drop into some of the pan roasted broccolini. I usually split the amount that we just cooked between 2 big ass salads. Next up is my favorite thing on this salad that isn't the dressing. That's pickled ginger. This is the nuclear pink stuff that comes with sushi, and I got mine by the sauerkraut in the refrigerator section, but an Asian grocery store, if you have access to one, would be a sure bet to get it. I highly recommend having this on hand. My second crunchy on the salad is going to be roasted sunflower seeds, maybe 15 grams of those. Then to really seal the deal on the sushi theme here, I'm going to add in some chopped roasted nori. If you're not familiar, nori is super umami and savory, and it's what they wrap sushi with. Lastly, I'm going to flake in half of my salmon, or about 4 ounces of it, into the salad, and getting a good hard sear on it like we did obviously brings a lot more fun flavor and texture than just baking it in the oven would. But what about the dressing? Into a high-sided container, measure 1 yolk from a large egg, 45 grams of unseasoned rice vinegar, 25 grams of sugar, half that if your rice vinegar is seasoned, 15 grams of soy sauce, then 20 grams of chopped fresh ginger. For that, I took a knob of ginger and very roughly cleaned up the sides to get rid of some of the skin. Too much of that's going to clog up my immersion blender. Once it's peeled, and I'll use that term very loosely, I'm going to give it a rough chop, and that's that. You could microplane this with the skin on, but I didn't really want to do the extra dish. The last thing is 20 grams of white miso. Sub in unsalted peanut butter if you don't have miso. Now, to make this into a dressing, the immersion blender goes in, and I'm going to spin up the base to get everything broken down. While that spins, I'm going to grab grab 150 grams of neutral oil. In this case, I'm using very light olive oil, and I'm going to top that with 50 grams of toasted sesame oil. From here, with the immersion blender running, I'm going to slowly stream in that oil blend to get it to emulsify with the base. I do want to mention that extra virgin olive oil is not a good option for vinaigrettes or dressings that need to be pureed like this one. Olive oil gets super bitter when it's roughhoused like that, so I stick to more processed oils like light olive, avocado, canola, that sort of thing.
Lauren, you gotta try this dressing. Pretty nasty, right?
You guys, this salad tastes a lot like sushi. That mix of creamy, salty, sweet, and seaweed all hit in a very familiar way. A salad like this fills you up, it's downright pleasurable to eat, and it leaves you feeling good afterwards. For the third salad, I'm going to get started with some steak, specifically 8 ounces of half-face sirloin. This cut is pretty cheap, it's about $8 a pound, and I've chosen it because it's thin enough to cook quickly in a pan. Once I've got both sides generously salted and peppered, I'm going to preheat my medium non-stick pan over medium heat. Once that's hot, in goes a long drizz of oil, let's say 25 grams worth, then in goes my sirloin. Again, I'm going to press this meat into the pan to ensure good contact. Then I'm going to let it cook over mellow medium heat for about 5 to 6 minutes on the first side. I am going to be cooking the steak entirely on the stovetop, so rolling it over medium heat allows me to penetrate with heat deeper without charring the outside. After about 5 minutes, I'm going to come back and check and then flip over the steak and then cook for another 4 to 5 minutes on the back side. I'll also add in a little bit more oil here to make sure that the back side of the steak is getting enough heat transferred to it. The back sides of sirloins always tend to curl up a little bit, and I hesitate to push it down into the pan because a lot of moisture would go along with that pressure and smoke things up and dry out the steak. After about 10 minutes in total over medium heat, the steak is looking good, and now I'm going to give it a poke to see how done I think it is. That feels in the ballpark of medium rare, so to double check, I'm going to take it off the heat and then stick in my instant read thermometer. Anywhere around 125F 52C is where we want to be because that's going to carry over cooked to a solid medium rare. For now, I'm going to let the steak rest, and in the meantime, I'm going to wipe out the pan one more time, preheat it over high heat, and then add in a lot of neutral high smoke point oil, like a third cup, 45 grams, then in goes 150 grams of raw pumpkin seeds. If you've never had fried pumpkin seeds or pepitas before, oh bro, are you in for a treat? The high heat puffs the seeds up and makes them all toasty and crunchy, and just like the breadcrumbs, this all happens very fast, so keep an eye on the color, and after about 30 seconds or so, these are just going to be on the edge of olive green and starting to get brown. We'll go another 10 to 15 seconds, and once the seeds are lightly golden brown all over like this, we're going to move them over to a double layer of paper towel to cool down and drain alongside that steak. Now, to build this salad, I'm going to lay down some arugula. I think the spicy edge here is going to pair well with the emulsified vinaigrette that I'm going to make for it. On top of the arugula goes some corn. This stuff came out of the freezer and I dabbed it off a little bit with paper towel to remove any excess moisture, but overall I think it has a really nice fresh crunchiness to it. My cooked vegetable here is going to be the roasted red bell peppers that I used on salad 1. I think it goes well with the theme of this salad, but if you're not into it, I would say sub in some cherry tomatoes and see how you like that. Behind the peppers comes some nicely diced avocado. In a salad with a zippy, non-creamy dressing, I think the added fat of an avocado brings nice contrast and some sort of balance to that acidity. Next, I'll crumble in some of that nice salty sheep's milk feta cheese from salad number 1. This feta is pretty similar to Mexican queso fresco or cotija style cheese, but I think it has more flavor. If you're not a feta person, you could use a goat cheese crumble. That would also hit pretty hard. Behind the cheese comes a few strong pinches of crunchy fried pumpkin seeds. Do not skimp on these little BBs. When they're all crumbled up with vinaigrette and feta, your life is going to be totally different. Now, the steak's been resting for about 15 minutes or so, and I'm going to cut it in half. Lauren and I generally do about 4 to 5 ounces each of protein on a salad like this, so this size of steak is perfect. Along with the cook temp. Way to go, Bri. You still got it. Once I got that steak sliced up pretty thin, I'm going to shingle it on top of everything else. And now, to make the dressing, I'm going to combine 25 grams of lime juice, 15 grams of champagne or white wine vinegar, 30 to 35 grams of honey, depending on how sweet you need it, 20 grams of grainy mustard, a half of a clove of garlic, 10 grams or about a quarter of a shallot rinsed to remove the sulfury edge, 1 gram of cumin, 3 grams of chili powder, and 3 grams of salt. Now, with the immersion blender, I'm going to spin this base until the onion and garlic are well broken down. From there, with the immersion blender spinning, I'm going to stream in 175 grams of neutral oil, again using the light colored olive that I mentioned before. Once that's all spun in, I'm gonna add in 50 grams of good tasting olive oil and stir it to combine with a spoon. I really love some olive oil flavor in a citrus based dressing like this one, but like I said before, you can't puree it in to emulsify directly, so I prefer to spin up the base separately with neutral oil and then finish with a nice tasting olive oil to bring that green round flavor. And there we go, chili lime vinaigrette. It's tart but in balance and quite savory from that garlic and shallot. This dressing does an amazing job of tying together a salad that has a ton of different textures and flavors. It cuts right through that fatty avocado and feta cheese, and it gives that meat something assertive and bright to help keep things interesting. Overall, it's a real dope salad, and I think anyone would be stoked to have it. You guys, all three of these salads are lifted straight out of my weeknight repertoire, and I really hope you guys find something in here to put into your rotation. Also, I think all three of these dishes prove that salads can be as vibrant and satisfying and flavorful as any other thing you might call dinner. So stop punishing yourself with iceberg and store-bought Italian and make a big ass salad. Let's eat this thing.